a lot of steps that have to be taken before we can do anything with that property. First and foremost, we have to get those interchanges off the interstate so that we can have connections. And that was actually promised about 5 years ago, I think, David. And we have constantly been working on that. When I came into office, Peggy kind of had to pull me down a little bit because I've been in pharmaceutical sales for 35 years, and we got things done like that. But I found out real soon when you're working with the government, when you're working with FEMA, when you're working with ALDOT and the federals, they move a lot slower than Max Townsend wants to move. But first and foremost, what we have to do is we have to do a feasibility study. We don't want to go out there and start doing something and then 5 years down the road say, oh, we made a mistake. We should have put this over here. It is designated. On the south side, it's 110 acres that's designated for park and rec. That's not limited. Park and rec is a huge spectrum. It could be anywhere from horse trails, it could be a civic center, it could be an amphitheater, it could be convention center. We have a lot of possibilities there, but without a feasibility study, and we've already signed up for a feasibility study, and they're professionals, and they look at that, and they give us advice. They go out and they look at a radius around this community. How many people could we bring in if we had something there? Would it be feasible to build a 10,000 seat amphitheater? You know, if we can't draw the people, you don't do that. On the north side, that was designated for industrial development. So what we are doing now, we're letting people know that. We're putting it out that we have 65 acres that's ready for industrial development. Another great thing about that property is infrastructure is there, sewer lines and water lines. So that's a big advantage. And we thank the borough's family.
We have to move forward. Ms. Haynes.
I think it would be a great place for the water park, arcade for the kids. And anything else we can add to it would be great. And the reason I said what I said previous is because that's what citizens have told me, and people that work in Cullman and have businesses in Cullman. So I do want to keep things local and help our community, not outsiders. I want to bring businesses in like the water park and such. So instead of us going to Point Mallard or Spring Valley Beach or all these other places around us, I want to bring people here and bring the money here instead of us spending $10 or whatever to get somewhere else to have fun. So that's the big picture for me.
Next question will go first to Mr. Rowe. What, in your opinion, can the Cullman Area Chamber of Commerce do to help make the city of Cullman an even better place to live and do business?
Well, that's a tough one because they're sitting right there. That's sort of like talking to somebody behind their back when they're sitting there looking at you. I think the chamber does a phenomenal job. Except for that director that's so mean to everybody. She keeps flashing those cards. At least it's not her back there. But anyway, they do a great job, and I think that if the city just turns them loose, empowers them to do what they do, they have committees that look into improving our local businesses, improving the industry. Again, the spectrum of the things that they do. Fantastic job on their part. And I think all you would need to do is to empower them to do what they're doing. They do a great job.
There you go.
First thing we have to do with the chamber is reassure them that we're working with them, we're hand in hand. But we've got to make sure that we hire the right director. That director will be the face of this community. And that director will have to be working with the city. They'll have to go out and do things. When you have assets, you promote those assets, you protect them, and you provide for them. And then everybody reaches for the rewards. And I think that the chamber in the past has done an excellent job for the entire county. But we're still lacking as far as tourism, and we're not pulling them out of the chamber by no means. We think the chamber is well established. We want to be a part of it. We want to work with them to ensure that we push those assets out in the community as far away as we can to draw people to Cullman and show them what we have in the city of Cullman. The director is the most important part of that chamber. That sets the tone and that sets the direction that the chamber will go.
Ms. Haynes? Same question. What, in your opinion, can the Cullman Area Chamber of Commerce do to help make the city of Cullman an even better place to live and do business?
I think they do their job. I have nothing to add to that. Everybody's answered that. And they do a good job. I'm proud of them. The businesses come in, they let the mayor know who's coming and what they want to do and be accepted, and it brings more money to our community. So I have no problem with the Chamber of Commerce and working with it.
When I was contacted by the chamber about this, a young lady called me and talked to me just like she'd known me all my life. And Leah Bowen, I didn't know, but now I knew Leah Fuller. So it was awful embarrassing. She come up and introduced herself, and I thought, well, why do you introduce yourself? She said, well, I'm interim director of the chamber. I said, you're Leah Fuller. Okay, now I finally knew who she was then. I think the chamber's done a wonderful job. I know the chamber works with members, but just as a layman out here listening to people, I like to see the chamber reach out to non-members and help them. Bring them into the chamber by helping them. Show them what you have to offer. Prove to them that you'll go the extra mile to help them, and I think you'll bring more chamber members in.
Okay. Mayor Townsend, you'll be first up. Looking forward a bit, should the city of Cullman look at expanding its borders through annexation to assist additional residential and business growth in the future?
When you talk about annexation, there's several ways that people can annex. If they are contiguous with the city limits or Lake Catoma, they can request to be annexed into the city. But as far as going out and, condemning property and trying to expand this city, I don't think that a lot of communities would like that. We can't go and just drag in property now. Just for example, the borough's property. Now, they came to us and wanted that annexed into the city, and although it was in the county, we had to jump through several hoops to make that happen. And the legislative delegation had to be a part of that. So we had to also get the county involved. The county signed off on it as well. They agreed to it because they realized that we could develop that property. I don't think Vinemont would be very interested in being annexed into the city of Cullman. I don't think Goodhope would either. So it's just certain things that you can do. But if it is contiguous, we have that option. But we can't lasso property now like you used to. You actually have to go through the state legislature, and it has to be approved that way. I absolutely would not annex property to destroy something and build a huge shopping center. We wouldn't do that. Thank you.
Ms. Haynes?
Question again, please.
Just looking forward a little bit, do you think the city of Cullman should look at annexation as a means of adding territory for additional business growth and residential growth in the future?
Yes, I think that needs to be an option. I know it's a procedure, like Mr. Townsend said, yes, people talk to me about that also. They also want to know where the city limits are, because a lot of people, some crooked here and there, they want city limit signs, so we need to, figure out where our city limits are, because some people are residential and they curve around and get something else that's not, and it's very confusing to the citizens, so we need to clarify that for citizens.
annexation can be used for the good of Cullman. I annexed into Cullman, also Rumor Street. I do live in the city limits of Cullman. I annexed in 6 years ago. Industrial Park 4 was behind my house. They were going to buy some property, jump a little road, and put the industrial park in the city limits. Well, the little road wasn't a road, it was a private driveway, and people wouldn't let them do it. Wayne Walker came to me and told me that this having a problem and asked me if I'd annex into the city so they could annex Industrial Park 4. For the good jobs, I didn't have a problem with it. So I see annexation as a good thing. You can annex into the city and then you can run for mayor.
We all need to consider the expense of that fire hydrant. We don't know anybody go out there with a shovel, just joking. Referring back to some things that I mentioned earlier, you know, one of the things you hear when you're out politicking and you're not sure if you're talking to a city or a county resident, and you happen to run into that county resident, and they say, well, you know, I live right on the edge of town, but I'm afraid of annexation because of, you know, when they have their list of things that they're afraid of. And I think that a lot of those things that they're afraid of about coming into the city would evaporate if they would take a hard look at the assets that it would be to them to be annexed. And I feel like that if we sort of courted that community around us a little bit better than we have in the past, and sort of reached out to them and let them know, you know, what an asset it would be. I know that for a time I lived right outside of the city limits, out in Lake Catona. It's about 50 yards out of the city limits. And every year, when I had those out of district fees to, you know, get my children in the #2 school in the state, it was kind of an ouch in the pocketbook. So I would love to have been annexed. You know, if we could have got that 50 yards, you know, out of the way. So I think if we would reach out into the surrounding communities and let them know what benefit that they would be getting, that they would voluntarily want to be annexed. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we are going to move forward to our closing statements. Again, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make their final statement, and the order in which the candidates will speak was determined by a drawing prior to this luncheon. And first to go will be Mr. Parker.
There's 2 ladies here today that I'd like to recognize. One of them knows 60 years, my mother, Julie Parker. My wife of 30 years, Rebecca. Becky to everybody that knows her. During the storm, I was going to be strong. She called me and told me I needed to go home and check the animals because there was a storm coming. I sat at the busy bee with Doc Gutter talking about her granddaughters. So it's a miracle that we ever left. I went home, saw the storm come over, immediately got in my truck and drove back to town and saw what had happened. I went to check on my mother. She was okay. I proceeded to see Mike Manning at the power board. I knew that we'd got slain apart. I asked Mike what I had heard. He said, Jerry, I don't know what you can do. I said, well, I'll call Jack Truck Stop and I'll get you 150 sandwiches up here for you people to start eating. The mayor's son-in-law, Mike Hall, he's here today. And R.E. Garrison Truck set the cold trucks up. We started filling them full of food and ice, and we started feeding them. We fed all the workers. The workers said they had never been treated like they were treated in Cullman. They bragged on us. We worked hard. We worked long hours. This community came together better than I've ever seen anybody come together. I've seen emergencies at sea, and even though we were highly trained to do what we did, it still didn't work as smooth as this city worked. There was a gentleman from I offered him a case of drinks, and he was diabetic. I immediately went to Pepsi that afternoon and got him 10 cases of non-sugar drinks. And when he came up the next morning, I offered him another case, and he said, "Son, I told you I can't drink that, I got diabetes."
2 minutes. All right, thank you. All right, next is Mayor Townsend.
First of all, let me just express my appreciation for being able to serve this community over the past 4 years. As I said before, I have done it with honesty, integrity, and professionalism, and if elected, I will continue to do that. It's a team effort. It's not an individual thing. It's a team effort. And I thank Mr. Parker for saying that the city was at its best during that storm. And we were, but we had a plan. When I first came in as mayor, the EMA called me and wanted me to come down and attend a class. That class was, what would you do in a natural disaster? So I volunteered to go to that class. It was 2 gentlemen from the Texas A&M University. One of them was an ex-FBI agent. The other was an ex-deputy sheriff who had been shot. They were also at the Ruby Ridge. They were at the Oklahoma City bombing. And the question they asked, what would you do if a natural disaster hit your community? Well, I sat down and I wrote out what I thought would be best. You have to have leaders. So first of all, we appointed 2 chiefs, the fire chief and the police chief, as head of that disaster relief team. Then I appointed Dale Greer as information officer and Tom Charney as safety officer. He is in charge of the city safety. But looking at the future, we have to realize that we must maintain the quality of life that we have in this community. And that's what I intend to do. To maintain the quality of life, go after jobs, maintain the jobs we have, and it takes a team effort. And my team, in the last 4 years, I would like to introduce you to my teammate, Kay Townsend. So on August 28th, Max Townsend is asking for your vote.
Ms. Hampton.
Well, I thought I was the only one that cried, so, but anyways, I also helped with the tornado. I didn't want the lights to come back on. The elders and children, I delivered 600 meals a day for the churches, Temple Church. I also served food until there was no place to serve at Desperation Church. Both churches I helped to the end. Doesn't matter tornado or no tornado, I would be there for people. So, I do like Cullman. There's a lot of sweet people here. And I would love to be your next mayor, and I'll try so hard not to cry. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rowe.
Well, in closing, let me say this. Obviously, having been employed for the city of Cullman for almost 27 years, I have come today armed with which streets need to be repaved, where the potholes are, which end is hanging down on which building. And as I thought about that and I meditated on that list of distractions, I thought about you here today. And I thought the thing that I should come before you today and do is speak from my heart and answer these questions from my heart rather than from my head. And so I have endeavored to do that here in this court. And in closing, I would like to say that I love the people of this city. I love this community. And just like we found out on April the 27th, our buildings can be gone just like that. Trees, houses, just like that. And the biggest asset in this community is our people. And that's why I would like to represent you, is to be able to bring that heart into City Hall.